welcome all to this momentous occasion for the grand opening of a park which was a labor of love for a lot of people, not only the county employees, but for the community that it will most serve and for the reason that it was built in the first place. I'd like to introduce a couple people that are here now that were drivers that helped this come along throughout the entire year-and-a-half process that it took. And County Executive Thomas P. Gordon, who was one of the most avid supporters of this and told us to go, go, go when he first got the word, is here. Councilman Dave Tackett, who was the original word, who heard from the community that a fence was needed around one of our play structures that would help with the child that's on the autism spectrum, that would help the parents if there was just a little bit more control in a play area where the child wouldn't just wander off and the parent wondering where that child had gone to. Dave came to us and said, "Can you put in a fence?" And we're like, well, we can put fences around parks, but that's not normally what we do, put fences. We're not sure exactly why you want to do it. Dave told us that it was because the autism community had come to him about some special needs that needed to be addressed. So Dave Tackett is here, and you're going to hear his story later in this program. Councilman Dave Tackett. And State Representative Earl Jaques is here, representing the state and the support that he has always given us here in Glasgow Regional Park. We also have Ray Bivens, State Parks Director, who they gave us money to help build this park through the Delaware Trust Fund, and he will be able to say a few words. We have our General Manager, Wayne Merritt with Special Services, who was extremely supportive of this project. Community Services General Manager, Sophia Hansen, who is always excited about everything that is done here. Marcus Henry, who has a very close tie to this project, who's the Economic Development and Policy Coordinator for the county. He is also here. This park is the first in the first state. It's not the first, the only first that the county has done. The county is actually been at the top of the spectrum on quite a few issues that we've done over the years, some of which were done during County Executive Gordon's previous term and then under this current term now. We built the first street hockey court in the county. We did the first single track mountain bike on public lands. We did the first segment of the Northern Delaware Greenway. We built the first skate park. We built the first sledding hill in Delaware. Probably the first sledding hill in quite a few states. And now we've got this playground, this fantastic High Five Park playground in Glasgow Regional Park. Before I bring the county executive up, for those that are wondering what High Five means, it was derived based on the fact as a symbol, the universal symbol of high five that people give to each other for accomplishment, for community, for greetings, for just being groups together, and the all-inclusiveness that means. Nobody cares when you give a high five who you are or what you're doing doing some kind of recognition. And that's what this park is all about. It's an all-inclusive park with a special emphasis on the autistic spectrum child, and that's where the name came from, and we hope it sticks because it means all-inclusiveness, and congratulations. With that said, I would like to ask the County Executive Gordon to come forward.
Thank you, John. And he was quite humble in his description, but John was very much behind all the different activities that he just mentioned. And I thank you, John, for your many years of driving the county in that direction. Certainly, Wayne Merritt and Special Services. I'm awful glad to see Councilman Tackett here today, who calls me at least once a day about this park, and it is a beautiful park. It's certainly the most beautiful in Delaware, and it's still got a ways to go. And especially great to have our representative Jaques here, who is at every event, and it's his park also, for all the support. He'll be at Christmas time with Santa Claus, and we're going to have a good time. But I want to thank the students, and I want to thank the teachers for coming today. Today culminates more than a year of work that began when the parents asked for a county to fence in an area for autistic children. Discussion with the parents, experts. We have our own expert here, with Marcus Henry, who we cherish your knowledge of this very specific area. I should mention that we're building an innovation center. Sophia Hansen is here, who is building a room for autistic children. Very expensive room. But what it does, it changes lighting, color, frequencies, the floor, to become anything that is conducive to that particular child that's trying to learn. And it's the first, I think, in Delaware, maybe anywhere in the country. And so we're moving along. We embrace the challenge to continue helping our autistic community. In creating this Hi-Fi Park, which will serve young residents, we designed a model playground here. And we hope it'll be copied to serve more children on the autism spectrum. And because this park is inclusive and open to all, we hope it will lead a better understanding throughout our community how bright and talented these children really are. It's only a shame we didn't do this many years ago, but we're learning as we go. I'd like to thank everybody again, Special Services, who made this happen, along again with Wayne. We also would like to thank the autism community, Newcastle County Council, and especially Dave Tackett for including this in his park and the support for this innovation. And he has to fight hard for everything he gets here, because there are 13 that want it in their district. But perhaps most importantly, we'd like to thank the parents who have requested to better understand, for us to better understand the needs of this autism spectrum. Ultimately, they are the force behind this important and historical dedication today. We hope you and your children and other generations to come will enjoy every part of the Hi-Fi Park. We'd also like to thank the neighbors and everybody that has seen this park expand in the last few years. And I understand, Wayne, it's got a lot of other expansions that still need to be done. But I always say it's like something out of a Norman Rockwell painting when you come here. It's diverse, everybody gets along, and I believe that helps a lot in community when you get into these other areas. We don't have the problem in Barrett that other communities have. But when you come here, you see all types of people, cultures, playing together, walking, all the things that attract this beautiful 300-acre park. And you see, as you mentioned, in the winter when the snow comes, there's sledding, there's fishing, there's playground, there's walking, and there's soon going to be a farmer's market. So I think this is an example of, it's always crowded. We need more parking. You come any day, you would think there's an event that's running, and it's just a normal day. The biggest problem we have is when we try to throw an event, like at Christmas, that as soon as the event starts, 9 through 40 stops. That's how many people. You get thousands here. When you throw an event, you're trying to get 20,000 in here, and it hasn't worked yet. But we're going to continue to expand our beautiful parks, and I think it's a way to to thank all the communities in Newcastle County for what they pay in their taxes. So I don't know if you're going to introduce the next speaker. Thank you.
The next speaker has adopted this park, I think even more than his daughters. He is here, he loves this park, he has been behind a lot of the improvements, and he doesn't know it, and the county executive doesn't know it, but you're right about the calls. We actually put in a special thing so when he called our phones, it just forwarded to yours. But Councilman Dave Tackett always finds a way to get a hold of the people that can help him put things together, and our next speaker is Councilman Dave Tackett.
Thank you, John. Yeah, I think General Manager Wayne Merritt made a big mistake years ago by giving me a cell phone number because I use it quite frequently when I need to get a hold of him, and Wayne's been fantastic. And yeah, well, just regressing a little bit back and giving a little bit of history. It was it was a couple years ago, and we had just put in the Bark Park over there, and actually social media really led to the first wave of the contact that had got us here today. And what happened was, as soon as the Bark Park went in, we started getting a lot of requests and calls, and a couple of my constituents reached out to me, Elizabeth and Rob, who were here today with their family, and shared with me the concern they had about the lack of an area that they could safely go with their kids when they were smaller, and they shared that the only spot they could go to was AI DuPont up in Wilmington that had a fenced-in play area where the families could go with their children and feel safe. So after hearing that, I came back, and as John Husband said, I approached John and Wayne, and I said, well, what would it take for us to put a fence around one of our existing play areas down there? And they were a little bit puzzled, and they said, well, why would we want to do that? So I explained to them what had happened, the comments that I had got, and the constituents that were contacting me looking for something for the children. And they said, well, wait a minute, I think we can do something a lot nicer than that. Let us get to work on it. So it was a little bit later they came back, and John said, you're going to be amazed at what I put together. And when we sat down and looked at it, we could not believe what John had done and the designs that he had come up with. He worked with Marcus Henry, who works in this field each and every day also for it. So we took it to Tom Gordon. I don't even think we got the first words out of our mouth of what we were looking for and trying to do down here, and he immediately said yes. He didn't even hesitate, tell us he had to wait. So hence fast forward, and that's where we are today. So again, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the community, because this is your park. It's heavily used. Everything that we have down here has predominantly led to comments that have come back from you. It's just like the sledding hill that John had mentioned earlier. We didn't realize when we put the sledding hill that it was we thought it was only going to be used in the winter. Well, hence did we know that it quickly turned into an exercise course. And the people that came to the park to do, their weekly, daily workouts were then walking up and down the hill. So we went back to John, and John immediately said, well, we're going to need to get this paved, because we need to make a safe area so you can now go up and down the hill in the summertime, spring, for your workouts, but also sled on in the summer. So it's you. You are the ones that lead to what we have here today, and it's staying engaged, and the communications that we have, and it is imperative. Thank you. To have the community that engages us, and we can't even come down here, any given time, and there's always somebody stopping us and thanking us for what we have down here for them, because actually in the Route 40 corridor in this area, there's more people geographically down here than they are in the city of Wilmington, and you can see that anytime, any warm day, it's shoulder to shoulder down here. So again, I want to give a huge shout out, to Wayne and John, Marcus for what he did, the county executive for immediately getting on board and seeing to it that we had the funding in place, and empowering the department to then come back and give us what we have today. I talked to Sophia Hansen in Community Services over there. Anytime you take her anything at all and say anything, her eyes just immediately light up and her mind starts twisting like, Clark, we could do this and we can get this one in there and we can do this, and it's amazing that the passion that she has for this job. So Sophia, thank you too. Earl and Bethany also have this area. They're always on board with us down here. Anything we have, they're down here. They're engaging us. They work through the state. I'm excited to see our new guy here from the State's Parks Department. It's always great when we can partner with that because what we do does parallel a lot with the state. So took a lot of people. Our parks guys are in the back. It's one that we kind of failed to mention. They're the ones that are kind of behind the scenes warriors down here. They're the ones that keep this park spotless. They keep this grass mowed, the trash picked up. We're able to come in and we enjoy it, but they're the ones that actually keep it looking like it is today. So again, it's your park. We're glad to be here. Thank you for staying engaged, keeping us contacted, and for everybody that had anything to do with getting us here today. It was a joint effort, and thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Because of the weather, we thought that we were going to have a lot more children here chomping at the bit to try to get in here, so we were going to have to speed up with the speeches. But since we have maybe a little bit more time, I'll just elaborate on what Dave had said. When he first came to us and said about the fence, and we didn't know what the real meaning was behind that, we met with Marcus Henry and Autism Delaware and spoke to them. And Heidi, we learned so much about about what the autism spectrum really is and how many people it takes to come up with something that meets everyone on the spectrum, from infant to teenage plus, and from this end of the spectrum to this end of the spectrum, which I must admit at this point I don't know how the spectrum is balanced, but I know there are many, many different sensory and social aspects on that spectrum. I've learned words like proprioception and vestibular senses that I studied it and we designed it, and when I wrote it up and gave it to Robin Brown, our communication specialist, she says, "John, what the heck?" Well, she didn't say heck. What is this? The booklet that you have in front of you explains in much better terms from a real journalist, makes it very readable on what we did. And without further ado, I'd like to bring up the people from Delaware Autism that deal with it on a daily basis. Marcus Henry, our Economic Development and Policy Director, and Heidi Mizell to speak. You can come up together or tag team.
I don't want you to get the rain on you, though. You stand over there. It's better over here. It's better over here. Okay. Thank you, John, for the kind introductions. This is very emotional for me today because, like Heidi, autism touches us directly. My youngest son is autistic, and quite frankly, when we got that news, it changed the trajectory of my wife and our life. We're dedicating our life to this cause, and this park is just part of that continuum in dealing with these issues. I'll let Heidi talk about autism and some of the basics about it, but for me, I'm wearing three hats here. One, a parent with a child with autism. Two, a government official. And three, an autism advocate. As a government official, this is the best example of what we can do in terms of public good and providing this service for all these families. I have to thank Tom Gordon, because with this park, it was said before, but it has to be said again. At the Route 9 Library, when it comes up, we'll have a sensory room dedicated with children with autism. We'll have this park. And 2.5 years ago, why I'm here really is, my wife and I started a healthcare practice focused on assisting these children called Brandywine Center for Autism. We currently assist over 130 families statewide. And if it weren't for the generosity of Tom Gordon allowing me to start this company and provide this service, I wouldn't be here today. So thank you, Tom. I truly appreciate you. Thank you. As a parent and as a healthcare provider in this area, I can't tell you, one of the difficulties we have is finding places like this, integrating our children in terms of having this service available. Heidi can speak to some of that. So this is a very welcome opportunity for us. I'm going to incorporate this, quite frankly, with our summer programs at our facilities to have these kids bused here so they can enjoy this park. So we're just tickled to death for this opportunity. So, Tom, I want to thank you, and let me digress. I have got to thank John Husbands. John Husbands spent a year and a half working diligently with this group to make sure he touched every aspect of what's the needs are for the autism community. Thank you, John. You didn't have to do that, and I appreciate that. I truly appreciate that. Okay? So I'll let Heidi speak for a bit. So, Heidi,
For a bit.
how long would you like?
I had to write my stuff down too because I have no memory. So my name's Heidi. I work for Autism Delaware. I do family supports. Majority of my job, it's my favorite part of my job. I had the privilege of attending an IEP this past week, and I mean that it's a privilege to attend. An IEP is an individualized education plan, and I go to schools and I help families advocate for their needs of their individual. And this week, it's just ironic. I happened to be sitting in an IEP with a young man who they were working with a physical therapist to provide services because he didn't have grasp. So he would go into the playground and not be able to grasp to climb, that, for example. Like he's tactile defensive. When he touched something, he didn't want to hold on to it. So they were working on improving his grasp so he could climb on the equipment. And I sat there and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, that was my son's first diagnosis. I'm the parent of an adult child with autism. He's 26 now. He doesn't really play in playgrounds anymore. That's it. I'll still go watch him though if he did. Anyway, so that was my son's first diagnosis was actually, because this was many years ago, was sensory integration dysfunction. So he would have to work in the playground. And I was that lone parent in the playground actually playing with my child because I needed to. I had to show him where to put his feet so he could climb and his hands so he could climb because he didn't have those motor planning skills. And we just focused in the playground all the time, like therapy through play. That was what it was all about for us. So hearing this sensory playground, this autism playground, it was a phenomenal experience to participate in it, and give my 2 cents in for our families. I'm so excited about everything, and I think I've said it ad nauseum about the sphere. I'm super into the sphere because all I can hear now are the parents going, don't put your nose on that, don't put your tongue on that, and parents, the struggle is real. So I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity for all our families. I know that they're going to be very grateful, and for the library. I cannot wait for the sensory room. I'm super excited. And thank you, the county, thank you very much. And all the contributors, everybody, top to bottom. And parents, thanks for your input, Scheinberg.
Thank you, Marcus and Heidi. The sphere definitely was an integral part of this design, and it was based on what I learned from Heidi and Marcus, and the fact that some children, if they weren't made to go away, would stand in front of a mirror all day long to look at themselves. But every piece in here has meaning. And I gotta tell you, it's so nice to be doing something in the parks field like this, because a lot of my time is spent with sanitary sewers, and we don't do anything like this when we're done putting in a sewer. So this is actually a lot of fun. One of our partners for years has been the state of Delaware and state parks. And they are in charge of a Delaware trust fund that provides money for a lot of our projects that we do throughout the county, where we do an application, it's reviewed, and based on their committee report, they'll come back and they'll tell us whether they have the money to be able to give it to you. Keeping in mind that the Delaware Trust Fund is money for the entire state. Well, they recognize this project as being a worthwhile project, and working with Bob Eamon from the state and Ray Bivens, we were able to acquire a $200,000 grant towards the construction and design of this park. And without further ado, Ray Bivens, from State Parks Director, to speak about that.
Thank you, John. Please make sure to invite me to that first ribbon cutting on a new sewer system. I look forward to that. When you're thinking about designing play areas for inclusion and accessibility, this project is not a step in the right direction. It's a giant leap by any mark or regard. It's a pleasure and honor to be a small part of this wonderful playground project. The Outdoor Recreation Parks and Trail Program provides funding to municipalities, counties, local towns to do these types of projects. You've probably all heard of Lum's Pond. You've probably heard of Cape Henlopen. Before today, how many folks knew that Delaware State Parks had a grant program that handed out to different municipalities? It's one of the best kept secrets, but it's one of my favorite parts of the job. And I do have to give a lot of credit to Bob Eamon, who's our program administrator, who goes up and down the whole state, making sure that those parks are in compliance and helping with the review process. It's not always a large county government that has all the resources to put a project like this together. Sometimes it's a small town that has a staff of half a person, 1 day a week, to help manage a project like this. Since 1989, this program, our grant program, has assisted Newcastle County on 24 projects, totaling over $4.1 million in grants assistance. And a lot of credit goes to Newcastle County government on that, because you have to apply. No one just shows up and hands you a check. There's a lot of jumps and hoops and steps, and you have to have very good competitive projects. And you can look behind me, there's a very strong competitive project, no doubt about it. We commend the county for all their work on this, particularly John Husband, our elected officials that are here. Representative Jaques is certainly someone that helps make sure that that grant program exists. For collaborating with so many individuals. That's a tough thing to do in government, to try to get the voice of your whole community. Newcastle County has truly embraced parks. There's no better example. On a rainy day today, there's people lapping this park, getting their exercise in. What a fantastic thing. They provide safe, diverse, and inviting park systems for all their citizens. We continue to look forward to the next exciting grant to come from Newcastle County. Thanks so much, and enjoy your Delaware State Parks and your Newcastle County State Parks.
John, and if you have a minute, John can give you the application right now for the next grant.
I've already given him enough, he can't afford all of them. Thank you, Ray. Everyone knows the county is run by the county executive, and he allows us to do a lot of projects. But everybody also knows that the gears all run by the person in charge, and that's the general manager. And acting general manager Wayne Merritt, who says he's acting, but he's been at so many years, he is the general manager. And he's the one that keeps the gears running in this the very diverse department. And without further ado, but I introduce John Wayne Merritt, General Manager.
When you're one of the last speakers, you can throw your speech away. And I didn't have a long speech to begin with, so let me just correct history here. I don't have a forwarding ability to the county executive's office for your calls. And this morning at 20 after 8, as I have John, one of these events, and I've put off events because of rain in the past, but I knew we have tents and we had the ability to house 75 to 100 people underneath. And as I'm looking at the rain forecast by hour, I'm thinking 4 o'clock's not a good time. But we've got everybody scheduled for this event, okay, because it's tough to get all the key people you need to have at the event here. So we can probably get everybody under it. And as I'm having the conversation with John, who calls but my good buddy, almost daily, Dave Tackett. And he goes, what are we doing today? And having had so many phone calls about when this day was going to be, I said, it's happening today. It's going to happen today. So we appreciate everybody who weathered the rain to get underneath the covers here. May of 2015 was when this trip started. And when you're in government, it sometimes takes a while for things to get done, and you almost forget. But this was one of the things that we lived. When Dave came in, and John was there, Marcus was there for the first meeting, and he talked about the community and the parents who he had talked to. We knew that this was going to get done. So John took it upon himself and came up with some plans. And probably within 2 weeks we were in the county executive's office. And it literally was, you had me at hello, and it's got to be world class. So usually in government and business, I mean, you look around and you try to find, okay, who's done this before? And you try to find the gold standard, and you go with the gold standard. There really was no gold standard because there really wasn't one of these out there. So John took upon himself to educate himself. He met with parents. He researched. And so I want to thank the county executive, obviously Councilman Tackett, the parents who raised this concept. But I really want to thank and Marcus, who was with us hand in hand. But I really want to thank John Husbands. He's the man behind this operation. He's the man who designed it. John started. He's in charge of environmental and engineering in our department. But he started out as a parks planner and landscape. And so, John, you get all the credit for this one. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Wayne. The decision this morning was made without question because no longer were Dan Netta and I going to come down to this park to check it out and have 3, 4, 5-year-old kids come running up and say, "The gate's open, the gate's open," and peering through the bars at us. We couldn't have that any longer. It's going to be open today. Our state representative, Earl Jaques, who's very instrumental in Glasgow Park, we'd like for you to come up and say a few words, please.
This is my district. This is the 27th. It runs from 72 to Maryland State line, from the canal to Four Seasons. People ask me all the time, says, "Well, you have 2 parks." I said, "Yes, I do. I have Lum's Pond Park and I have Glasgow Regional Park." And they complement each other. Because what you can't find at this park, you can find at Lum's Pond, and vice versa. But I have to digress a little bit today because I probably won't be given this opportunity much longer. So I will say a few words about this park to start with. When Tom Gordon was running for the very first time for county executive, he was standing at one of the supermarkets. And I was just a regular citizen. I was not an elected official. And he said, "Hey, I need your vote." And I said, "What are you going to do for me?" He said, "What do you want?" I said, "I want a real park. I don't want one of these parks that's in the community. I want a real park." And he said, "If I get elected, I'll get you a real park." Well, over the years, being the chief of staff for the Delaware Guards, I got to sit with him at a lot of events. And I never missed the opportunity to say, "Where's my park?" So the day that this property was bought, he called me up and said, "You got your park. Here it is." And he said, "I am going to make you a park that you'll be very, very proud of." And he's true to his word. This is a phenomenal park. People come here all the time. One of the speakers said that we have a lot of people here. Well, yes, we do. Because if you did what zip codes 19701 Bear and 1970 Newark, Glasgow, we have 140,000 people. That's twice the size of the city of Wilmington. And I don't ever miss the opportunity to tell my legislating colleagues from Wilmington about that. So I am very proud of this park. Tom, I can't thank you enough for what you did for this park and all the things we have. One of the first obstacles we had with this park is we had some young people come here and said, "We would like to have a skate park." They presented a very nice argument and a plan and all that discussion. And every naysayer that could be came out and was against it. And Tom Gordon said, "No, this park is for everyone. Every group, every person should have an opportunity to enjoy the Newcastle County park system." So he said, "We're going to build a skate park." And all those things that those people raised, not one of them have happened. That is a great thing for our young people, that skate park here at the end. So today, we are just opening another segment for another group of our society to enjoy. I have a grandson who's in the autism spectrum. I do a lot of legislation for Autism Delaware. I know a lot about autism. and this will help so many children. We are growing by leaps and bounds because Delaware has done one of the great jobs of identifying children with their issues. And so we have identified a lot of children that are in the autism spectrum. Maybe slightly, but they're in there. And we want them to be able to grow a normal, productive life. And I can't thank Councilman Tackett, John Husband, for all your work and making this something that we, all of us, citizens of Delaware, can be proud of. Thank you very much.
Before we cut the ribbon, this is not about, although I appreciate it, about John Husband. This is about the county employees that really helped and assisted on this on a daily basis. Dan Netta, raise your hand. Has been a fabulous help with this, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have a lot of my drawings done. Liz Seminara, who was one of my assistants, couldn't make it today, but she was an instrumental part in doing this work. Robin Brown, our communications specialist. And in your program, it's not a typo. She is officially small r, small b, Brown. Kathleen Green, our budget and procedures analyst, has been fantastic helping with this. Marcus Henry, of course, you've heard from him. And Dave Thurman, one of our staff engineers, who helped me research and try to find this ball. This ball was not easy to find. The parks crew here at Glasgow is fantastic. They always have been, and I expect that they always will be. And the print shop. The print shop really came through for us with everything that we needed for your packets, and the special, the large booklet that you have was a rush order by them, and it is just first class. So I'd like to thank them for that, and Robin Brown for helping put that all together. It's time to cut the ribbon, and I think it's just sprinkling. Are you afraid of getting wet, Mr. Gordon?
To start off, it's he who brought it to me. I want him to talk about his idea and how he got it going.
Yeah, roughly about 2 years ago, through social media and Facebook, I was approached by the good friends of mine, Rob and Elizabeth, who shared with me the need and the concern to have a safe place where they could go with their children. And they shared with me the ideals and what the vision was and what they needed. I went to Special Services, talked to them about it. We approached Tom. Tom was the one who has to be commended. Years ago, he had the vision to purchase this park, to give us what we have here today. And without it, I don't know what we would do down in this area.
He's humble, but he's the one that has to fight the budget and fight for this park, and it is a lot of work that he's had to do in the last 4 years, and he's got a lot more to do. And I think we are very lucky to have Councilman Dave Tackett represent this huge area.
Now, this is good. Each and every year we try to do something a little bit different, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit more spectacular, and we achieve that. And here today, once again, we've added another amenity to this park that was long overdue, and something as our government giving back to the community we serve every day.
Go. Go ahead, Ray. Go play. More to come.